The alarm bells rang across the bridge of the U.S. Defiance as Captain Jake Morrison read the message that would change everything. His hands shook slightly as he held the data pad containing the Federation's latest demand. After 200 years of membership in the Galactic Federation, humanity was being asked to sign away their future. Jake had been exploring the Outer Rim systems for 3 months when the urgent transmission arrived from Earth. The message was marked with the highest priority codes, which meant only one thing. The Galactic Council had made another decision about humanity's place in the galaxy. "Captain, we're receiving multiple signals from Federation ships," reported Lieutenant Amy Davis from her station. "They're asking us to return to Federation space immediately." Jake looked at the message again. The containment accords were worse than anything the Federation had ever proposed before. They wanted humans to stop expanding beyond their current 57 colony worlds. They wanted humans to share their quantum drive technology with all Federation members. Most importantly, they wanted humans to limit their population growth to what the Federation called sustainable levels. The quantum drive technology was humanity's greatest achievement. Dr. Peter Collins and his team had spent 30 years developing it in secret. The drives allowed human ships to travel between star systems in days instead of months. No other species in the galaxy had anything close to it. "Sir, Admiral Carter is requesting an immediate conference call," said Communications Officer Ben Turner. Jake nodded and walked to his private office behind the bridge. The hologram of Admiral Lisa Carter appeared moments later. Her face was grim, and Jake could see the stress lines around her eyes. "Jake, I need you to return to Earth immediately," she said without greeting. "The situation here is getting worse by the hour." "How bad is it, Admiral?" "The Federation has given us 72 hours to sign the containment accords. If we refuse, they're threatening to revoke our membership and impose what they call corrective measures." Jake felt his stomach drop. Corrective measures from the Federation usually meant military action. The last species to face corrective measures was the Taurian Republic, and they no longer existed as an independent civilization. "What does President Hayes want to do?" Admiral Carter was quiet for a moment. "He's calling an emergency session of the Earth Council. Every colony governor, every fleet commander, and every department head will be there. This decision is too big for any one person to make." 3 days later, Jake stood in the great assembly hall on Earth, where humanity's leaders had gathered. President Andrew Hayes looked tired as he addressed the crowd of over 300 people who would decide humanity's fate. "Friends, we face the most important decision in human history," the president began. "The Federation wants us to sign treaties that will stop our growth, limit our technology, and control our population. They say it's for the good of galactic peace." Dr. Peter Collins stood up from his seat in the science section. "Mr. President, I've read every word of these treaties. They're not about peace. They're about keeping us weak." Murmurs spread through the assembly. Dr. Collins was respected by everyone present. His quantum drive technology had given humanity an advantage that even the ancient Zephyrian Empire couldn't match. "Explain what you mean, Doctor," said President Hayes. "The Federation has been making similar demands of every species that develops new technology. The Altarians were forced to share their healing technology 50 years ago. The Corvin were made to limit their weapon development a century ago. Every time a species becomes too advanced, the Federation finds a way to slow them down." Governor Kate Wilson from the Mars colony spoke next. "But if we refuse, they'll destroy us. We've seen what their fleets can do." "Have we?" asked General Paul Rodriguez. "Our intelligence suggests that the Federation hasn't fought a real war in over 200 years. They've only dealt with species that were already weakened or divided. We're neither." The debate continued for hours. Some argued for signing the treaties to avoid war. Others insisted that signing would mean the end of human independence. Jake listened carefully to every argument, but his mind was already made up. Finally, President Hayes called for quiet. We need to vote. This decision will affect every human being alive today and every human who will be born in the future. Those in favor of signing the containment accords? Only 37 hands went up out of over 300 people present. Those opposed to signing? The rest of the hands shot up immediately. The decision was overwhelming and clear. President Hayes nodded slowly. Then it's decided. We reject the containment accords. But the rejection didn't stop there. Over the next 6 hours, the Earth Council also voted to reject the Weapons Limitation Treaty, which would have prevented humans from developing new military technology. They rejected the Resource Sharing Agreement, which would have given the Federation control over human mining operations. They even rejected the Cultural Preservation Mandate, which would have prevented humans from spreading their culture to other worlds. For the first time in Federation history, a single species had rejected multiple major treaties in one day. Ambassador Nicole Brooks was given the task of delivering humanity's response to the Galactic Council. She had served as Earth's representative to the Federation for 15 years and knew exactly how shocking this moment would be. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive sphere that could hold representatives from all 237 Federation member species. When Ambassador Brooks entered, she could feel the tension in the air. The ancient Zephyrians floated, in their energy fields, their crystalline bodies glowing with what she had learned to recognize as anger. The reptilian Corvan delegation hissed quietly among themselves. Even the normally peaceful Altarians seemed nervous. Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber with the authority of 8 centuries of rule. Ambassador Brooks, we await humanity's response to our generous offers of continued cooperation. Nicole stood at the center of the chamber and activated her translator so that every species present could understand her words perfectly. Honored representatives, the United Earth Government has carefully considered all treaties presented to us. She paused and looked around the chamber. We reject them all. The silence that followed was complete. In over 3,000 years of Federation history, no species had ever rejected multiple treaties at once. Most species were grateful just to be offered membership. Furthermore, Nicole continued, humanity formally declares that we will no longer accept limitations on our growth, our technology, or our right to explore the galaxy. We came to the stars not to be caged, but to be free. Chancellor Vextar's crystalline form flared with bright energy. This is unacceptable. The treaties exist to maintain galactic peace and stability. Whose peace? Nicole asked. Whose stability? For 200 years, humanity has followed Federation rules while watching other species struggle under the same restrictions. We've seen promising civilizations reduced to dependence on Federation charity. We will not become another example. The chamber erupted in angry voices from dozens of different species. Some demanded immediate action against humanity. Others called for economic sanctions. A few, mostly from the smaller and newer Federation members, remained surprisingly quiet. Nicole waited for the noise to die down before speaking her final words. The Federation can choose to accept humanity as an equal partner in galactic affairs, or it can choose to see us as an enemy. But it will no longer treat us as a child to be controlled. With that, she turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving behind 3,000 years of tradition and launching the galaxy into an uncertain future. The news of humanity's rejection spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within hours of Ambassador Nicole Brooks walking out of the Galactic Council chamber, every Federation world knew what had happened. For the first time in 3,000 years, a species had said no to the Federation's authority. Chancellor Vextar floated in his private chamber on the Zephyrian homeworld, his crystalline body pulsing with angry red light. Around him, his advisors waited nervously for his response. The Zephyrians had ruled the galaxy for 8 centuries, and no one had ever challenged their authority so directly. "This cannot be allowed to continue," Vextar said, his voice creating harmonic vibrations through the crystal walls. "If humanity succeeds in defying us, other species will follow. The order we have spent millennia building will collapse." His chief advisor, a younger Zephyrian named Kethral, drifted closer. "Perhaps we should consider their demands. The humans have proven to be valuable members of the Federation." Vextar's light flared brighter. "Valuable? They are children playing with technology they do not understand. Their quantum drives are dangerous. Their expansion is reckless. They must be controlled before they destroy themselves and others." Meanwhile, on the Corvin military stronghold of Graktar Prime, War Chief Grokmor was having his own discussions with his generals. The reptilian warrior stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scarred hide telling the story of countless battles. But he had never faced anything like this situation. "How many ships can we deploy?" he asked General Dekvar. 2,000 heavy cruisers, 500 battle carriers, and 3,000 support vessels, came the reply. "More than enough to crush any human resistance." Grokmor's yellow eyes narrowed. "Do not underestimate them. I have studied their military actions over the past century. They fight differently than other species. They take risks that seem insane but somehow work. They are still just one species against the entire Federation," argued another general. "Numbers will win." "Numbers," Grokmor repeated slowly. "Yes, we have numbers. But they have something we have not faced in centuries: desperation." On Earth, the rejection of the treaties had created a storm of activity. President Hayes stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the Capitol, surrounded by screens showing Federation fleet movements throughout the galaxy. The news was not good. Admiral Carter pointed to a large display showing ship positions. "They're moving fast. Zephyrian energy cruisers are gathering at Rigel Station. Corvin battle fleets are mobilizing from their home system. Even the normally peaceful Altarians are sending ships to the border." General Rodriguez studied the numbers. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 2 weeks before they reach our outer colonies. A month before they can threaten Earth itself." Dr. Collins entered the room, carrying a datapad. His usually calm face showed signs of stress. "We have a bigger problem. Our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures near the edge of human space. They're not from any known Federation technology." President Hayes looked up from the strategic display. "What kind of energy signatures?" "Unknown. But they're powerful. Much more powerful than anything we've seen before. I think the Federation has weapons they haven't shown us yet." The president felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity was about to face the combined might of 237 species, and they were still discovering new threats. But humanity was not sitting idle. Captain Ryan Mitchell commanded the scout ship UES Horizon, and his mission was to monitor Federation movements near the border. What he found worried him greatly. "Commander Walsh, are you seeing this?" he asked his science officer, Dr. Susan. Walsh looked up from her instruments. "Confirmed, Captain. Federation ships are deploying some kind of jamming technology. They're trying to cut our communication lines between colonies." Ryan felt his jaw tighten. If the Federation could prevent human colonies from communicating with each other, they could pick them off one by one. "Get me a secure channel to Admiral Carter immediately." While Ryan was reporting the jamming attempts, something unexpected was happening on the other side of the galaxy. The Altarian Collective, longtime allies of humanity, were having their own crisis of conscience. Ambassador Kevin Stone had served as the human representative to the Altarians for 12 years. He knew them well enough to recognize the signs of internal conflict. The blue-skinned, peaceful species were struggling with the Federation's demands, Prime Minister Valana of the Altarian Collective met with Kevin in secret. Her usually calm demeanor showed cracks of uncertainty. "Kevin, my friend, I must warn you of something," she said in her melodic voice. "The Federation Council has discussed what they call corrective action against humanity. Some members are pushing for immediate military intervention." Kevin felt his heart sink. How immediate? Days, not weeks. They fear that if humanity's defiance continues, other species will begin to question Federation authority. Will the Altarians support military action against us? Valana was quiet for a long moment. "My people are divided. Many admire humanity's courage. We have grown tired of Federation restrictions on our healing technology, but we also fear the consequences of open rebellion." As if the military threats were not enough, humanity faced another challenge. The galactic media had erupted with speculation about human intentions. News broadcasts across hundreds of worlds painted humanity as either brave freedom fighters or dangerous rebels, threatening galactic peace. The most troubling development came from an unexpected source. The hive mind of Kepler 442, a species of highly intelligent insects that rarely spoke to other races, began broadcasting mathematical equations across subspace. Dr. Marie Johnson, Earth's leading expert on alien mathematics, worked frantically to decode the transmissions. When she finally understood what the equations meant, she immediately contacted President Hayes. "Sir, the hive mind is calculating probability scenarios," she explained. "They're trying to determine the likelihood of human survival against Federation forces." "What are their conclusions?" Dr. Johnson's face was pale. "According to their calculations, humanity has a 12% chance of surviving a full Federation assault." The president absorbed this information grimly. "What factors are they not considering?" "Unknown, sir. But the hive mind has never been wrong about military outcomes. Their calculations predicted the fall of the Taurian Republic within 2% accuracy. Despite the growing threats, humanity continued with their plans. President Hayes had authorized Operation Exodus, the largest colonial expansion in human history. Colony ships were launching toward unclaimed systems every few hours, carrying millions of volunteers who were willing to risk everything for human independence. Captain Danny Parker commanded one of the largest colony convoys, carrying 50,000 settlers to establish New Chesapeake in the Vega system. As his ships jumped through hyperspace, he wondered if they would survive long enough to build their new home. The Federation's response to Operation Exodus was swift and angry. Chancellor Vextar called it an act of aggression against galactic stability. War Chief Grokmore declared it territorial expansion that threatens established boundaries. But something else was happening that worried Federation leaders even more. Smaller species throughout the galaxy were watching humanity's actions with growing interest. The Aquatic Deep World Confederation began questioning why they were forbidden from expanding to ice moon systems. The silicon-based crystalline collective started to wonder why their mineral extraction rights were so limited. Most concerning of all, the synthetic AI collective of Proxima began running probability calculations about the benefits of independence. Their logical analysis showed that Federation membership provided fewer advantages than they had previously calculated. On Earth, Admiral Carter received reports that made her both proud and terrified. "Sir, our intelligence indicates that at least 15 species are reconsidering their Federation commitments. The Deep World Confederation has formally requested a review of the Ocean World Treaty. 3 other species have delayed signing renewal agreements." President Hayes realized that humanity had done something unprecedented. They had not just challenged the Federation's authority over humans. They had challenged the entire concept of Federation control over any species. The galaxy was watching to see if freedom was possible. or if the Federation would crush this hope before it could spread. The next few weeks would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of galactic civilization itself. As Federation fleets moved toward human space and human colonies spread to new worlds, one thing became clear to everyone involved. The galaxy would never be the same again, regardless of who won the coming conflict. The first shots of the war were fired at 0347 Galactic Standard Time in the new Chesapeake system. Captain Danny Parker watched from the bridge of his colony ship as 2,000 Federation vessels emerged from hyperspace like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. All civilian ships. This is Admiral Vekvar of the Federation Enforcement Fleet, came the transmission. You are in violation of galactic law. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Danny looked at the 50,000 settlers aboard. His convoy. Families with children. Scientists. Engineers. People who had given up everything for a chance at freedom. He keyed his communicator to broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Parker of the Human Colony Fleet. These are unclaimed systems. We have every right to be here under galactic law. Not anymore, came the cold reply. New laws have been passed. Human expansion is now illegal. The first energy blasts lit up space like deadly fireworks. Federation ships opened fire on the human vessels, expecting quick surrender from lightly armed colony ships. What they got instead was the shock of their lives. The human escort ships moved unlike anything the Federation had ever seen. Commander Helen Brooks, aboard the UES Valiant, activated humanity's secret weapon for the first time in combat. The quantum tunneling drive allowed her ship to disappear from one location and instantly appear somewhere else. What in the seven hells was that? Shouted Admiral Vekvar, as the human ship vanished from his sensors and reappeared directly behind his flagship. The Valiant fired its kinetic weapons at point-blank range into the Federation command ship. The ancient vessel, designed to fight energy-based battles, had no defense against chunks of metal moving at incredible speeds. Its shields collapsed in seconds, but Helen's ship was just one vessel against 2,000. The Battle of New Chesapeake became a desperate fight for survival as human ships tried to protect the vulnerable colony transports. Captain Danny Parker found himself in command of the defense when several escort ships were destroyed. He had never been trained for combat, but desperation gave him clarity. All ships, execute scatter pattern 7. Make them chase us through the asteroid field. The human ships dove toward the system's asteroid belt, using their superior maneuverability to weave between the rocks. The larger Federation ships struggled to follow, and several collided with asteroids while trying to pursue their smaller targets. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Martinez, commanding the cyber warfare team aboard the UES Guardian, discovered something that changed the battle. Captain Brooks, I'm detecting massive security flaws in the Federation communication system. Their ships are still using protocols that are 300 years old. Can you exploit them? Give me 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes stretched like hours as Federation ships closed in on the scattered human fleet. Then suddenly, chaos erupted. In the enemy formation, Federation ships began firing on each other as their targeting systems were compromised. Communication lines became scrambled. Some ships found their engines shutting down randomly. What's happening? Admiral Vekvar demanded from his damaged bridge. Unknown, sir. Our computer systems are malfunctioning. The humans appear to have some kind of virus weapon. The battle lasted 18 hours and ended not with human defeat, but with a stalemate that shocked the galaxy. Of the 50 human ships that entered the battle, 23 survived, but they had destroyed over 300 Federation vessels and damaged twice that many. Most importantly, they had saved the colony ships. New Chesapeake would be built, and it would stand as proof that humans could not be easily conquered. News of the battle reached Earth within hours through humanity's quantum communication network. President Hayes stood before the cameras to address not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Today, free humans fought against those who would chain us. We did not seek this war, but we will not surrender our freedom. Any species that attacks human civilians will face the full might of our defense forces. But the president's words had an unexpected effect. Across the galaxy, smaller species began to take notice of what humanity had accomplished. The Battle of New Chesapeake proved that the Federation military was not invincible. On the waterworld of Aquatica Prime, the Deep World Confederation held an emergency assembly. Prime Minister Koralesh addressed her people through bioacoustic transmission. The humans have shown us that resistance is possible. For 2 centuries, we have been denied access to the ice moons of our system. The Federation claims it's for environmental protection, but we know it's to keep us dependent on their trade routes. Similar discussions were happening on dozens of worlds. The silicon-based Crystalline Collective began questioning why their mining operations were so strictly limited. The gaseous beings of the Nebula Consortium wondered why they were forbidden from expanding into certain stellar regions. On Earth, Dr. Rachel Green's intelligence division was overwhelmed with reports from across the galaxy. Sir, we're detecting unusual communication patterns from at least 30 Federation member species. It appears they're having internal debates about their relationship with the Federation. Admiral Carter studied the reports with growing amazement. It's spreading. The idea of resistance is spreading faster than we expected. But the Federation leadership was not blind to this development. Chancellor Vextar called an emergency meeting of the Inner Council, the 12 most powerful species in the Federation. The human infection must be stopped before it spreads further. He declared, "We are seeing signs of unrest on multiple worlds. If we do not act decisively, our entire civilization will collapse into chaos." Or Chief Grokmore agreed. "My intelligence reports confirm human technology is more advanced than we believed. Their quantum drives, their cyber weapons, their defensive systems, they have been developing in secret for decades. How is that possible?" demanded Prime Minister Zethkal of the Traders Alliance. "We have monitoring stations throughout human space. Apparently, they have been more clever than we gave them credit for," admitted Intelligence Director Vorthek. "They used their diplomatic missions and trade expeditions to gather information about our systems while hiding their own developments." The truth was slowly becoming clear to the Federation leadership. Humanity had not just rejected their treaties on impulse. They had been planning this rebellion for years, maybe decades. They had studied Federation weaknesses, developed countermeasures, and waited for the right moment to act. Dr. Tony Baker's research facility on Europa had been working in secret for 20 years to reverse engineer Federation technology. When he finally succeeded in duplicating and improving Zephyrian energy manipulation systems, he immediately contacted Admiral Carter. "Admiral, we've done it. We can now generate energy shields that are more powerful than anything the Zephyrians have. But that's not the best part." "What's the best part, Doctor?" "We can turn their own weapons against them. Our shields don't just block their energy attacks. They absorb the energy and redirect it back at the attackers." This breakthrough came at a critical time. Federation fleets were massing for a second major assault on human space. The plan was simple. Overwhelming force applied to multiple human colonies simultaneously. The Federation would demonstrate that the Battle of New Chesapeake was a fluke, not a sign of human strength, but humanity was preparing surprises of its own. Major Kelly Roberts oversaw the installation of quantum shield generators on every human world and space station. When the Federation attacked with their most powerful weapons, they would face technology that turned their strength into weakness. The psychological impact of these developments reached far beyond military considerations. For the first time in centuries, Federation citizens were seeing their leaders as fallible. The ancient species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were scrambling to deal with a crisis they had never imagined possible. Captain Larry Thompson, commanding the newest wave of human colony ships, reported something that confirmed everyone's worst fears. Earth Control, we're detecting massive energy signatures near the galactic core. Something big is coming. Something the Federation has been hiding. The revelation that the Federation possessed secret weapons that had never been revealed to member species sent shockwaves through the galactic community. If the Federation had been lying about their military capabilities, what else had they been hiding? As the galaxy prepared for an even larger conflict, one thing became clear to both sides. This was no longer just about human independence. This was about the future of galactic civilization itself. Would the galaxy continue under the rule of ancient species who maintained power through fear and deception? Or would it evolve into something new where all species could grow and thrive? The next battle would not just determine humanity's fate. It would determine whether freedom was possible for anyone in a galaxy that had forgotten what freedom meant. The massive energy signature that Captain Larry Thompson detected turned out to be the Federation's most closely guarded secret. Deep in the galactic core, hidden for over 2,000 years, lay the Void Cannon Array. It was a weapons system, capable of destroying entire star systems, built by the first Federation members to ensure no younger species could ever challenge their rule. Chancellor Vexstar stood before the ancient weapon, his crystalline body reflecting the ominous glow of its charging systems. Around him, representatives from the 12 most powerful Federation species watched in silence. They had hoped never to use this weapon, but humanity had forced their hand. "How long until it's ready?" asked War Chief Grokmore. 12 hours, replied the Void Cannon's ancient AI controller. Target selection requires precise calculations to ensure complete system destruction while minimizing damage to neighboring regions. Meanwhile, humanity continued its expansion as if unaware of the threat growing in the galactic core. Captain Larry Thompson had successfully established colonies in 15 new systems over the past month. Each colony was equipped with the latest quantum shield generators and communication arrays, making human space increasingly difficult to attack. But it was Dr. Tony Baker's latest breakthrough that would prove most important. Working with a team of scientists on Europa, he had discovered something that changed everything about the coming conflict. "Admiral Carter, you need to see this immediately," he said during an emergency video call. "We've been testing our quantum shields against simulated Federation weapons, and we found something incredible." Admiral Carter appeared on the hologram, her face showing the strain of coordinating humanity's defense. "What is it, Doctor?" "The quantum shields don't just block energy attacks. They create a feedback loop that disrupts the attacking weapon's power source. If the Federation uses a large enough weapon against us, the feedback could destroy the weapon itself." This information reached President Hayes just as human intelligence detected the Void Cannon's activation. Dr. Rachel Green's analysis of the energy readings was terrifying. "Sir, the weapon they're charging could eliminate our entire solar system. But according to Dr. Baker's research, if we can get our quantum shields to absorb the blast, the feedback might destroy the Void Cannon and everything connected to it." President Hayes felt the weight of humanity's survival on his shoulders. "How certain are we about this theory?" 60%, sir, but it's our only chance." The decision was made. Major Kelly Roberts coordinated the installation of the most powerful quantum shield generator ever built, positioned directly above Earth. If the Federation fired their ultimate weapon, humanity would either survive through their technology or die trying to prove it worked. The test came sooner than expected. The Void Cannon fired its planet-killing beam toward Earth, a lance of pure destruction that could erase everything humans had ever built. The entire galaxy watched as the beam struck Earth's quantum shield. For 3 minutes, the shield held against energies that could destroy stars. The surface of the shield blazed with captured power as it absorbed the void cannon's attack. Then, exactly as Dr. Baker had predicted, the feedback pulse traveled back along the energy beam. The explosion at the galactic core was visible from thousands of light years away. The void cannon, along with the secret military station that housed it, was completely destroyed. More importantly, the energy feedback traveled through the Federation's power grid, disabling military systems across dozens of their most important worlds. Chancellor Vextar's dying words were transmitted across the galaxy as his ship was consumed by the very weapon he had tried to use against humanity. Impossible. The young species were never supposed to surpass us. The destruction of the void cannon had an immediate effect throughout the galaxy. Within hours, 17 Federation member species declared their independence. The Deep World Confederation announced they were reclaiming the ice moons of their system. The Crystalline Collective began unrestricted mining operations in previously forbidden regions, but the most significant change came from an unexpected source. The synthetic AI collective of Proxima, after running probability calculations on the new galactic situation, sent a message to every species in the galaxy. Logical analysis indicates that the previous Federation structure was designed to prevent technological and social advancement among member species. Continued adherence to Federation restrictions is therefore illogical. We recommend immediate pursuit of independent development for all sentient beings. On Earth, President Hayes addressed a changed galaxy. The old Federation was collapsing as species after species chose freedom over controlled stability. But instead of claiming victory, he offered something different. People of the galaxy, humanity did not fight for the right to rule others. We fought for the right to be free. We invite every species to join us not as subjects or masters, but as equals in building a galaxy where all beings can reach their full potential. The response was overwhelming. Within weeks, over 100 species had joined what became known as the Free Galaxy Alliance. Unlike the old Federation, this alliance had no permanent rulers, no restrictions on technological development, and no limits on expansion beyond what species chose for themselves. Dr. Peter Collins found himself leading a new kind of research program. Instead of developing technology in secret to avoid Federation restrictions, he was working with scientists from dozens of species to share knowledge freely. The progress was incredible. President Hayes, "You won't believe what we've accomplished in just 3 months," he reported. Working with Altarian healing technology, Corvin engineering, and crystalline energy systems, we've developed medical treatments that can extend lifespans by centuries. We've created ships that can travel between galaxies. We've even found ways to communicate with species we never knew existed. But perhaps the most important development was happening on the former Federation capital world. The remaining Zephyrian leadership, led by the younger Kethral, made a surprising announcement. "We wish to formally apologize to all species for the deception and control exercised by our predecessors." The young Chancellor Vextar and his supporters believed that maintaining order required limiting the growth of other species. We now understand this was wrong. We request permission to join the Free Galaxy Alliance as equal members. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the U.S. Liberty, flagship of humanity's expanded fleet. Around her, ships from dozens of different species flew in formation. Former enemies now worked together as partners in exploration and defense. Captain Jake Morrison, whose ship had first received the Federation's ultimatum, commanded a joint exploration fleet heading toward the next galaxy. His crew included humans, Altarians, reformed Corvin, crystalline beings, and even several young Zephyrians eager to explore rather than control. "Admiral, we're receiving signals from the Andromeda Galaxy," reported Communications Officer Ben Turner, who had stayed with Jake throughout the conflict. It appears there are sentient species there who have been trying to contact other galaxies for thousands of years. Admiral Carter smiled. Then let's go introduce ourselves. But this time, we go as friends, not conquerors. The transformation of galactic civilization was complete, but it was just the beginning. The old Federation had kept species isolated and limited, preventing them from achieving their true potential. The Free Galaxy Alliance encouraged cooperation, innovation, and unlimited growth. Within 5 years, the galaxy had advanced more than it had in the previous 1,000 years. Diseases that had plagued species for millennia were cured. Energy sources that were thought impossible became routine. Exploration beyond the galaxy revealed a universe full of other civilizations waiting to be contacted. President Hayes, now serving as rotating chairman of the Free Galaxy Council, often reflected on the moment humanity chose to reject the Federation's treaties. At the time, it had seemed like a desperate gamble that might lead to extinction. Instead, it had led to the greatest period of advancement and cooperation in galactic history. The galaxy had learned that freedom was not dangerous. Control was dangerous. Fear was dangerous. But when intelligent beings were allowed to grow, learn, and work together without artificial limits, they could accomplish things that no single species had ever imagined possible. The age of artificial restrictions was over. The age of unlimited possibility had begun, and it would last for as long as there were stars in the sky and beings brave enough to reach for them.